Welcome, and it is another Wednesday night. Almost said Sunday night. I got my days crossed up. It's another Wednesday night, and welcome to the Pundits Pundit. I'm your moderator, Denzel Snipes, aka Jacob Christner's Blazer tonight. He seemed to have disappeared, but I guess he's coming right back. But hey, until he comes back, I'm going to introduce one of my co-hosts right here. To my right, well, I guess because I get the screen mixed up directions sometimes. But to your right, if you're watching, that is the pilot, co-pilot, the captain of the ship, the coach of the team, the Tom Landry on the sidelines with the blazer and the fedora, Mr. Scott Motor City Morganroth. Go ahead.
Yeah,
How you doing?
If you think you're gonna find me with a blazer, good luck, pal. I haven't worn a tie in probably a couple of years. I don't even know how to tie one, and my wife does it. But no, I appreciate all the kind words. Knowing I just came back from the Rolex 24 over the weekend, and I survived it, and I did the full 24. In fact, I did 30 when you figure the post and pre-race stuff, and I was up 40 hours in a row. So yeah, that was a real pilot challenge at the Daytona International Speedway. Love being on this show with you guys. You guys to me are a blast, and I love doing this bad boy.
Looking forward to every Wednesday. And then right below me.
Right, or your other left. Just remember that.
Right. And on the screen below me and Scott is the architect of the Pundits Pundit himself. He also has a new show called Pundit Views that's about 6 weeks old now, but It's been hot, it's been running. And ladies and gentlemen, this is Jacob Christner.
Hey, what's going on? Now let me ask you a question. Am I Kevin Nash's Blazer that's 1993 and 350,000 miles? Am I OJ's Blazer? Or am I the 12th man on the Blazers?
I would say Kevin Nash's blazer because right now y'all's hair is actually identical.
Yeah, no, that is very, very true. I would love to be able to I'd like to be able to do his beard, but it gets too thick and it hurts.
He actually has a goatee. You can get away with a goatee.
Yeah, but it hurts. I got thick hair.
I dare you to try to get James Harden's beard. Nobody will know who the heck you are.
No, yeah, but I want to win a title.
Okay.
He said he actually wants to win. Wow, that's crazy. So let me see here. If you are a first-time watcher, congratulations, welcome. Come on in. Hit that like button, but also hit that subscribe button because Sideline Sports, we have a whole lot to offer. More than just the Pundits Pundit. We got the Gauntlet, the Sports Arena, which is coming on later on. The Sports Exchange, which is coming on right after this, hosted by yours truly. On to, if you're watching, you're right. Scott Morganroth got a lot of great material on there. Also, we've got 3 Chicks in a Pod, Chicks and Salsa, Cold Hard Truth, on the Rude Dog Show, everything. Sideline Sports, we're fantastic. We're everywhere. We're gonna have a crew down there in Arizona next week covering the Super Bowl. So stay tuned for that. And we're all over Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. And so, with that being said, let's get on to our first topic. I actually kind of wanted to lead off with this one first, if you all didn't mind. And that is black coaches and their expectations. Now, you know, and it's a case by case kind of deal because on one hand you have Mike Tomlin. And Mike Tomlin's had about 16 years with 500 or above. And then there's always that fear that the year he has a losing season, then that's it. They're going to fire him because they can always throw here in Pittsburgh, we have the winning mentality. We're about Super Bowls. The last time he won was in 2008, but I mean, he has been hanging around. But then, you also got head scratching cases like my Houston Texans. You hire black coach in David Culley. First ever in his career after 27 years. You cut him after 1 year, knowing what your team is. Then you promote Lovie Smith from defensive coordinator to head coach. You given roughly the same team, you only give him 1 year. And then now you hire another black coach in DeMeco Ryans. And he signed a 6-year deal. But because of this, the last few years with the Houston Texans and coaches is like, can we even trust that? The magic question is this. Are white coaches held to a lower standard than black coaches? Are they given a little bit more grace? Can they go 4 or 5 seasons at 500 or losing, whereas 2-3 straight losing seasons, a black coach is gone? We'll start off with Scott Morganroth on this one. What do you think?
Great question. I think you might want to throw Brian Flores into the equation too, because he didn't get a lot of years with the Dolphins. I think part of Brian's issue was he didn't get along with Tua. And if you're going to go out there and keep that job, you better get along with your franchise quarterback. So
Right.
I'm hoping that Brian Flores does get another opportunity. The problem that you have, though, nowadays is you've got that lawsuit in the NFL that Steve Wilkes is a part of and Brian Flores that might hinder their ability to go ahead and get another job soon. But I think, judging by what you said, it seems to feel that way, doesn't it? That, your margin of error, if you don't win, seems to really hamper you. Now, again, you're talking about African Americans trying to get trying to get an opportunity. They're not getting the best jobs out there. Now I will say this, though. Byron Leftwich squandered an opportunity last year with the Jacksonville Jaguars because he did not want to work with Trent Baalke. So, you have to take that.
I wouldn't either.
What's that?
I wouldn't either.
I know, but the reality of the situation is I understand that Trent Baalke comes with baggage because he couldn't work with Jim Harbaugh, and we know the type of success that Jim Harbaugh had. And it's not like Trent Baalke has a spick and span reputation. But when you're an African-American coach and you're trying to adhere by the Rooney Rule, you certainly want to do everything that you probably can to take whatever opportunity is accorded to you. But I guess the question is, are African-Americans judged more critically than whites? I think you can make a case for that. I really do. I mean, let's face the reality, okay, guys? Okay, the Pittsburgh Steelers have only had 3 coaches in how many years? That's it. Right.
70 something,
coaches in what, 20, 25, 30 years, dating back to Chuck Noll. Think about it. I can even count them. Chuck Noll, Bill Cowher,
Mike Tomlin. Yep.
And I saw Mike Tomlin win a Super Bowl against the Arizona Cardinals. And I'll tell you, he was lauded pretty well there. So it's pretty hard to argue against what you're saying because I think there's a whole lot of validity to it. I would hope that you wonder about the Steve Wilkes situation in Charlotte, North Carolina. Should he have been hired there? Yeah, but I understood in this particular situation the Reich hiring a little bit more because they wanted an offensive-minded coach, knowing that their last 5 were defensive-minded coach. Yes, I do. So, I look at every coaching situation a bit different. I know many years ago when they brought the Rooney Rule into place, the Detroit Lions, my team of all teams, violated it. When Matt Millen got fined $200,000 when he knew he wanted Steve Mariucci in there. And, William Clay Ford probably paid the fine for him anyways. And they ended up bringing in Steve Mariucci. So it looked like those particular interviews were, kind of, token interviews to comply with the actual hiring process, if you follow where I'm coming from.
Right.
But I've seen white coaches get fired after 1-15 records too. And Nathaniel Hackett got booted within a year as well. I remember Cam Cameron down here with the Miami Dolphins had a 1-15 record, and he was gone. So I think it depends on the organization, the performance, and obviously the owner, how much patience they have or do not have. But I think the argument that you're making here is you're right. I think that the black coaches and their expectations, they're judged a bit more critically than white coaches. But you also have to remember there's more white coaches than there are African Americans. Let me add one other thing that I should point out too. Years ago when I was living in Arizona, you talk about the Super Bowl being held in Arizona. We have a crew going out there. I used to live in Phoenix for about 2.5 years, believe it or not. And I really enjoyed the Valley, and they're going to be spread out real well. Jen and Jordan and JV, they're going to realize, that Phoenix area reminds me of Canada. It's far and wide when you're talking about the Valley. Yeah. But the one guy who I thought should have gotten a head coaching job and never did, and I actually spoke to him in the locker room, was a guy by the name of Mean Joe Green. Mean Joe Green. Think about it. He worked under Dave McGinnis, Don Shula, and Chuck Noll. But if anybody deserved a head coaching job ahead of his time, Mean Joe Green should have got one. Unfortunately, it never worked out. So I hope I've answered your question.
No, absolutely, and appreciate the detail. Absolutely, going through the history of black coaches to white coaches in the NFL, especially considering the Pittsburgh Steelers, because we can sit here and count on one hand how many there have been in the past 40 or 50 years. And also, of course, mentioning the Brian Flores situation, in which, if I'm not mistaken, I believe he went 9-8 in his last season with the Dolphins, and the Dolphins were on their way up. So when I
Well,
first
that's
heard about the
true.
firing, like I didn't get it at first, but I had to let everything, kind of play out.
That's
I
true.
thought Flores was turning the tide.
Yeah,
I did.
that's a great point. Can I add one other thing to it if you don't mind?
Go ahead.
And here's the thing. A lot of people were talking about tanking for Tua, okay, and that Stephen Ross got upset with him. He wasn't losing enough games. I don't know how valid there is, but I know that there was a lot of discussion. This guy got fired for winning, taking an organization that was in rough shape. And I thought for sure he had an opportunity at some of those head coaching jobs, not during this hiring cycle, but the one before that.
Right on.
Unfortunately, it never worked out. But then he got involved with a lawsuit. And I hate to say this, guys, but when you get involved with a lawsuit against the NFL, you're shooting yourself in the foot. And that doesn't help your situation at all.
Yeah. Even though some people, a lot of people like it needed to happen, but again, it's the NFL, like you said. Right. But want to swing on down to Jacob. All things considered, what I mentioned and what Scott mentioned. What are your thoughts on this? Any digresses? Any agreements? Your own thoughts? Go ahead, take it away.
Well, the biggest thing is you brought up the Rooney Rule. You have no idea how much I hate the Rooney Rule. Because I hate the Rooney Rule because I hate it as much as Black History Month because you cannot put Black History into a month. Absolutely. Right. Not a chance, not any way whatsoever. That is not a political statement. That's just true. There's life. And it's like, and I hate the Rooney Rule because it's forcing, it feels like a force of people to put, and there isn't a guy like Ajero, the defensive coordinator, trying to become a defensive coordinator, Ajero, that was in Minnesota. Putting him out there and saying you need a Rooney Rule to get his attention as good as he is. It's like, it just shows that you're forcing them to people to notice when the world already should notice.
Yes.
It already should know how good you are. And see, bringing up Steve Wilkes, I believe if what's happening to Steve Wilkes and he has just put a lawsuit out there. If Flores goes on to another team, I believe Steve Wilkes will be another reclamation project for Mike Tomlin.
Right.
I have no question he will. But the biggest thing is, I brought this up. You and I were talking one morning, Jay. You and I were talking one morning, and I brought this up myself. I'm the one that said, if he would have gone 8-9, I think he's gone. Mike Tomlin. As awesome as he is, personally to me, it'd be a selfish thing to me because I want him in Chicago. I want that expectation in Chicago. I am sick and tired of this garbage. I'm sick and tired of the way that I can't not stand the McCaskets. Cannot stand the way that they have a low expectation ever since Dick has been gone. I call them McCaskets. They're old and they're decrepit. No, but the biggest thing is here's a possibility he could be gone. You brought up David Culley, Lovie Smith. You talk about Lovie Smith. I'm a Bears fan. Took him out at 10-6. You know what I'm saying? You there, Jay? Jay.
There he is.
Well,
there he is.
But anyway, so we'll let him get back. But remember, he took him out at 10-6.
Yeah, let me add something to this too, Jacob. Sure. You make a great point. You really do. Here's the thing that we can feel good about with D'Amico Ryans, though. He's 38 years of age. He played for them 6 years, and he got a really, really good contract. And at this point, if the Texans do anything stupid within a couple of years, what's going to happen? They're going to look worse than they are, and they're already looking awfully bad anyway. So this is one you have to get right.
Well, the thing about D'Amico Ryans is considering the whole situation, until they can prove otherwise, how do we know that he ain't just going to pay off his last 5 years?
Right.
And it's like, those are the things. And it's like, that's the big thing. You got to realize that here's another example. Jeff Saturday had probably one of the worst interim coaching jobs I've ever seen in my whole life. And he's one of the Final Four.
That's nuts.
He is one of the Final Four. And it's like, the thing about, and I like Jeff Saturday for the will to do this, because this would be me as a coach, because I don't have coaching experience other than volunteer. So that would be, I have a respect on that, but he doesn't have the experience and stuff like that. But he is possibly going to get that chance, even at 1-7. But you know what they're going to say with it? He had 5 of his 8 games, 1-score games. Held 1-point loss to the possible Super Bowl champs. That's exactly what they're going to say in their argument, which I will tell you this right now, David Culley did not get that chance. Lovie Smith had a lot of close games this year. Did not get that chance.
Well, let me tell you something about David Culley. He was dead man walking. This guy thought he was coming into what the quarterback, Deshaun Watson, and he thought he was going to have this guy. Otherwise, I don't think he would have taken the job. So I'm going to reiterate what I just said, okay, Dens and Jacob, he was dead man walking. Lovie Smith was getting into a situation where it was his last opportunity at his age to get a coaching job. Why not? Only to find out this one really blew out badly. But David Coley, to me, that was just you want to talk about the ultimate host job. That was definitely it to me.
It was a panic move because they told Deshaun Watson, hey, we're going to include you in the coaching search. And then they never did. And then that's why I still say David Culley, it was a panic move because they just hired him out of nowhere. He was nowhere on their list. And then they basically hired him, was like, see, I told you we can hire a black coach. Come on, Deshaun, you want to stay? And then let me turn this back to Nathaniel Hackett, because my personal belief, Nathaniel Hackett was never really meant to truly be the head coach of the Broncos. He was bait. He was bait for Aaron Rodgers. And when it didn't work, and when it didn't work, they were stuck with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's what happens when you hire people to lure someone else and it doesn't work. So that's on the Broncos front office. They have to eat that loss.
Well, bullseye. Okay. And if you hashtag these shows, okay, bullseye, because that's what it was.
I'll tell you this. There's different in football. This is the funny part. It's different in football. Basketball. Oh, my God. Patrick Ewing in Georgetown.
Yeah.
Patrick Ewing in Georgetown. I mean, his record gets worse every year, and it's a thing. But that is trying to bring back the John Thompson era, considering he worked for him. But it's like, but it worked with him, and that was his coach. And he's trying to bring back that teacher mode. And the biggest thing is Patrick Ewing doesn't even need this. His own brand makes him millions of dollars. He doesn't even need something like that, but he wants to be a teacher and a coach. The NBA will give chances to black coaches all the time.
Yeah, don't tell me
they're
that.
They're over half the league.
Don't tell me that. Well, hold on. Wait. I'm sorry to interrupt you. They didn't give Patrick Ewing one when he deserved it years ago. Maybe that's what it is now. But if there was ever a guy that ever deserved an NBA head coaching job, Patrick Ewing did. This guy, wait a minute. Okay, he was with the Orlando Magic for a while, and he was probably with a couple of other places. To me, he reminds me of Mean Joe Green. This guy should have gotten the job and didn't get it. Didn't mean to cut you off, Jacob, but this is a kind of, they may do it now, but don't tell me back then they didn't, because that guy deserved a head coaching job. He really did. And he ended up getting a job because he went back to Georgetown. And we talked about this last week on the Sports Day, didn't we, about Ewing? So, hey, I love Patrick Ewing. I love what he did for Georgetown as a player. And he's product of the John Thompson situation. But to me, the NBA is a mess as it is, a new version, not what we do on Sundays. But this guy here should have gotten a job as a head coach and didn't.
Well, and one thing.
Years overdue. Go ahead, Jake.
Yeah, I'll say this. One big thing is in these leagues, this is the thing about, this is where we're still at, even though the NBA now has over half the coaches in the league being black. You know what I'm saying? But they have a bit of being black now. But the biggest thing about it is in the other parts of the leagues, in Major League Baseball, in Major League Baseball and in the NFL, you get your comfortable black coaches. Guess what? That is Mike Tomlin. Guess what? That is Lovie Smith, no matter what you get, and it's Dusty Baker. Dusty, so beautiful to watch Dusty get his ring because he was going to get 50 other jobs even at 80 years old. He is. And I'm not doing this as a pandering thing nor a political thing. It's just true. Yeah. Dusty Baker talks black history like he's your grandpa with a cane. Yeah. He doesn't talk like Dick Gregory.
Yeah.
Name one person on the planet that has any cotton picking sense, anyways, that didn't root for Dusty Baker to win.
I'm a big fan. I'm a Cubs fan, but
I'm pulling for the guy. He got hosed in Washington with the Nationals.
Yeah,
he did.
There's nothing about Dusty that is anything near Dick Gregory. He is nothing near it at all. I mean, he's not vicious. He's not mean. Like I said, he talks black history. Like you could have 40,000 people in the seats, and he's that old sage with a cane.
He even spoke out because this is actually a tidbit that wasn't talked about. This past World Series was actually the first World Series since I think the early 1950s that featured no American-born black players. All the black players you saw were Afro-Latina. So like Jordan Alvarez and everybody else, they were Afro Latino, but no Black American players. And Dusty Baker has spoken out about it, and also I think someone on the Phillies has spoken out about it as well. But that just shows the lovability of Dusty Baker. You could have hated the Astros, but you wanted to see Dusty win one, even if it was with them.
Come on.
Yeah. Dusty, that's the thing about Dusty. He's loved, like I said, bringing up the Afro, bringing up the no African-American players, not bringing that up. You ask him. You notice where they go to that?
That's true.
You get an answer from him. He is a nice dude. He is cool to everybody. He is legitimately. He is legitimate diversity.
Yeah, but let me tell you this, Jacob. Let me tell you this. Here's a guy that cleaned up that mess over there with the cheating scandal and the banging of the trash cans. You talk about a guy that walked into a situation. If that wasn't a hornet's nest, you tell me what one is. You go behind AJ Hinch. The organization's so scandalous, it's looking bad. Dusty with the cool hand here. Don't worry. Daddy Dusty is here to save the day. And what do we have? A World Series championship.
Yep.
Before we go on to the next one, I'll say this. The way Dusty did it, the way they had with Dusty, it was like, oh, we hate Astros. We hate the Astros. We hate the
yeah. And the thing is he's about to go into his fourth year with the Astros. The first year he was there, he was one game from the World Series. The second year, he lost the World Series in 6 games. The third year, he won it. So it's not like there had to be this big rebuilding. Of course, we just retained like a lot of the players and superstars. We got an awesome farm system and everything. But Dusty did a hell of a job. He did a hell of a job in the wake of what happened and whatnot, and everyone's view. But Dusty Baker, he's a lovable character, and he always has been a lovable character. A lot of people thought he should have won with the Giants back in 2002.
Should have won with the Cubs. Just being truthful and truthful. He did the cut, and I got an article I'm writing up. You're going to get with that article too eventually. I'm just saying this. Okay. Here's the thing. Dusty Baker deserves that Cubs ring too, because he's the one that started the whole thing, running.
Yeah, well, remember one thing though. I hate to say this and be a skeptic. I love the guy, but he may wish he probably left after last year with Justin Verlander no longer in the staff, and he loses some key players.
He'll get to a playoff, he'll lose, and that'll be it.
Yeah, but you know what? Let me tell you, without Justin Verlander, if he gets to the playoffs, that's a moral victory. I think it is, because let's face reality. Verlander was an innings eater if I ever saw one in my life. And I ought to know from my days back in Detroit covering the Tigers as well. So, not like I didn't know what he did. But no, Dusty's Dusty. If he gets him to the playoffs, in my eyes, that's the equivalent to a mild World Series.
Yeah, but it was, and even though Verlander was our ace, we still boasted the best bullpen in baseball. The bread and butter was the bullpen. So, now don't get me wrong, the starting rotation was nasty too. But I honestly believe the bread and butter was the bullpen. But Dusty went in there. He did what he did. It was kind of sketchy that first year. And what was it? We got Tampa in the ALCS. We were down 0-3 and then managed to tie it 3-3. And then we lost game 7. So it's like, all right, we'll be back next year. Dusty took him back next year. Lost to the Braves, lost to a better team, even though the Astros were injured. And then got him back the next year against the Phils and then won it all. Dusty specifically said right after the World Series win, he wanted to run it back. He signed a 1-year deal. So, great on him.
So this is obviously going to be it.
It might be it. It just might be.
And I'm gonna do a historical thing on the guy. I'm gonna say goodbye, because this guy, I love Dusty, love him, because to me he needs to be on a field with a cane shaped like a baseball bat, looking like have an old gray beard, look like an old sage.
Yeah, yeah. He most definitely is the village elder of Major League Baseball. And whenever Dusty does retire, we will cover him on Confidential, which is going to come back to you all the week after the Super Bowl. We will be back live. It's going to be hosted by JB Ellis. Jacob Christner is going to be on there along with Jenn Lewis. Shout out to her, and Jordan Long. Also, Scott, of course, you know you've got a seat. You got a seat in front of the fireplace, man. So
Hey,
anytime you want to come on the show,
let me tell
talk
you what, my
something.
friend, I will be taking you up on that all day long. I will.
Absolutely.
That Cub show intrigues me anyway. So, I know we started a working relationship with Sideline and obviously the Tribune, kind of like in the summer, later fall, but no, I'm ready to ride on all the broadcasts you guys have, man.
Absolutely.
I guarantee there'll never be a dull moment on the ones I show up. Not that there is on the ones I'm not on anyhow, but that gray hair, although I have a gray hat too, by the way, just so you know.
It just kind of mixes in. I know you're still covering Marlins down there. So, absolutely.
Before.
Yeah, it is. I always thought I thought that it looked like a fishing hat almost for a second.
What are you talking about? This has got an own. Well, it does it. Well, it's a Rolex.
Well, it's also a fisherman's touch.
Huh?
But
mine in his head. I had to work 40 hours to earn it.
Well, hey, we're actually gonna take a commercial break and show you all, because it's more than just Confidential that I mentioned. We have a plethora of shows, and when we return, we are going to get. It's going to get a little dark, just to warn you all, but it is a topic that does need to get addressed. So be right back. To our list of shows on Sideline Sports. Just like I said, go ahead, tune in, hit that subscribe button, get access to daily shows. We got shows all week long. We cover live at locations, just like you're going to see next week with the crew covering the Super Bowl, other events. We just had a crew that was up at the National Scouting Combine, so shout out to Eric Wilson, Megan Price and the gang, everybody, John Shear, that was covering the National Scouting Combine. We're there live all the time. Even the young man, Scott, he's down to cover NASCAR and Jaguars games and everything and putting live material out there. So subscribe to Sideline Sports. We are for the people. Now for our next topic, and this one here it's a slightly non-sports one, but I feel the need to bring this up because you do have athletes who speak out against this. LeBron James is speaking out against it. Brittany Griner spoken out against it. In anybody, against police brutality in the United States. So to those of you who don't know, young man Tyree Nichols out there in Tennessee who got pulled over by who was known as the Scorpion Unit out there, which is a division of police officers. He was pulled over by 5 other black officers who they said that they pulled him over for reckless driving. They actually went back and they saw that they found no evidence of reckless driving. Me personally, I believe he was targeted, but that's another conversation. They proceeded to drag him out of the car and literally beat him to death. They tased him, handcuffed him. They took turns on him. The paramedics showed up on scene and didn't do anything. They were subsequently let go, and a few others were let go as well. But this right here, and it's never something that slows down even, it's a sensitive topic, just like school shootings are and such. And this right here just has to, at some point in time, it's like, when is change going to happen? And there are a few theories that get thrown around here. One is the use of qualified immunity in the United States by police officers like this, who use that to their advantage. They are the only ones who have qualified immunity. First responders don't have it. If they mess up, the liability is on them. Who else? Doctors, they don't have it. If they mess up, the liability is on them. Police are the only ones with qualified immunity, which states that they can't theoretically be held at fault for something that serves the public trust. You have too many of these police officers that do this on a daily basis. Understand that this is not an anti-police rant per se, or an anti-police topic. We're calling for reform. That's what this thing is all about. Is we're calling for reform, and I just want to get y'all's thoughts on this. I'm going to start off with Jacob Christner here. What do you think is going to take? First of all, your thoughts on this incident, and also, what do you think is going to take to get reform? What would your idea of reform be?
Well, first off, remember we talked about martial arts and police reform on, I'd say, 4 or 5 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
Martial arts and police reform. And the idea of it is, remember what we talked about with martial arts and police reform? Man, I don't think you were on yet, Scott. I was just wanting to bring it. It's like we had to, I'm going to clear it up on this. Okay. Martial arts and police reform, the idea of it was that a lot of these cops know how to use a gun. They know how to use their sticks, but they don't. I mean, if they have to tackle a perp, they lose 90%. It looks like on video 97% of the time, or they need help, and even the help loses it. And it's like they don't have the hand-to-hand combat trained. They don't have all that kind of stuff. And one of the biggest things with that is the fact that this proved everything we talked about 4 or 5 months ago, Jay. This proved everything. 5 people. 5. It doesn't matter if they're black cops, but it doesn't matter. And we're just going to say 5 cops. We can say they're black cops. Yes, they are. But 5 cops on one. And they're all beating them, holding them down and doing all that stuff. You think they're fighters? You think they can handle themselves? No. They can't handle themselves one-on-one? No. And these are the things that you see. And it's like, here's the thing. I have seen maybe in the last couple of years, like one video where it showed that a officer used it by judo throw and took the guy down in 4 seconds. I saw that, and then his partner took care of the rest. Took care of the guy. We don't have enough cops that have. I mean, see, they get. I talk to police. They get unlimited gun training, which is fine, but they get whatever they want to in hand-to-hand training, which is obvious they're not taking. And personally, to me, what it is going on is the fact when you're on a Scorpion unit, you know what the Scorpion unit was? It was for violent crime out there in those streets. When you are out there on violent crime, all you are is violent yourself, because that's all you're really seeing. You're seeing legitimate violent people. Mm-hmm. So it is basically like Taxi Driver from 1976. Yeah. It is like that. Your head is screwed up. And one of the things what is it going to take? It's finally going to take. It's like I said, I don't mind them knowing having gun. I mean, knowing all the having their gun training. That is not a bad thing. What I am going is they need equal hand-to-hand police training, and they need equal negotiation training. The same negotiation training as anybody that does I'm sorry, I'm a little tired tonight.
Hostage negotiation.
Hostage. They need that same training, because and now we're talking about there's some kids in Texas. There's kids in Texas who were killed running from the cops, 18, 19 to 21. We don't know if they did anything wrong or not. Maybe not equal way. They were football players. But they were running from the cops. But you know something? Maybe they did something wrong. Maybe they didn't. But you know darn good and well that came into play from Memphis. It's like if they did something wrong, it's one thing. But even if they didn't do anything, whether they did monstrous things wrong, that's in their head. They're not on this life.
Yeah, absolutely. Running from. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I'll finish with this. Now, here's the deal. The black community is already not fond of black cops, but they, in their own little head, in a certain way, they might have had a shot of trusting in their own little way. Not anymore. Not anymore. Now on the same thing, and now you're getting an Al Sharpton that's talking of it's like Al Sharpton's even having a hard time. He tries, but he's having a hard time doing what he needs to talk about, because it's like, and it's sad that we have to say Al Sharpton. It's sad we have to say that, but it's like he wanted to put the race in. There was people that wanted to put the race in there, and then they're angry. They are angry at them because black cops. It's like, I don't want to hear that black cops took the idea of taking that away from them. I want to hear that they're mad that cops did that to them. Right. And it was like, and they're mad at their own. It's like, I started watching Dick Gregory the other day. Just those thing I sent that thing to you guys. I started watching Dick Gregory thing because I want to hear. I remember what he had said up to when he passed away in 2017. All the stuff that he was trying to help the black community. All the stuff you see, hearing that kind of stuff, and there's so many things that you see happening now. He saw it, and it's like, what would he say now to 2023? What would he say now 6 years later to 5 black cops killing a young kid who was doing nothing wrong?
Right. Absolutely. I mean, the fact that it was, black cops, and you made an interesting point, because cops generally aren't trusted, in the black community for obvious historical reasons,
Yeah.
So whenever they see 5 black ones that beat one of their own down and kill one of their own, now, it's just a big mess. It historically it's been a racial problem, but it also is just a cop problem. That's why they're calling for reform. This is across the board. But I want to swing it over to Scott. What are your thoughts about this whole ordeal?
Boy, you talk about a loaded topic. You definitely got one here. First of all, Melfar Jr., who appears on Inside the Pigskin, has told me stories that he had to deal with out in L.A. And we know if there's ever a place where this stuff could happen, it's definitely L.A. Mm-hmm. Secondly, we talked about Kenosha, Wisconsin being a bad situation. I don't have to go over the narrative there. We already know by now. We know about the situation in Minnesota, which is bad. Here's what really annoys the daylights out of me on this one. You ready? 5 African-American cops beating up on an African-American kid? Really?
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. Think. I don't normally take pauses or moments of silence, but I might just take a quick moment. Okay, I'm talking again. But here's the deal. How the heck in your right mind, 5 African-American cops beat up on an African-American kid? If that isn't absurdity, idiocracy, or nothing, please tell me what the words mean. I don't have a Webster's dictionary right next to me. I only have an outline of our show afterwards. But that's ridiculous, really? Beating up on your own. It's bad enough that everybody beating up on each other, regardless of the races involved against who's who or whatever. That's not the point. But 5 African-American cops, to me, beating up on them. I just hope they get the book thrown at them. I hope they end up going to jail or prison. And I hope that the inmates take care of these guys, because there's a little thing about prison life that you better know, that when you're inside those walls, people find out what you've done. And they don't, and like you guys have said, nobody likes cops anyways. And now that you're a cop on the inside of the prison system, hold on, baby, because this situation is now you're a criminal like the other ones that have been put behind. And who's to say some of these guys may not be the ones that you even put away? They may have a hit on you anyways.
Right.
I mean, so once we're behind the wrong ends of the prison doors, and don't be surprised if a lot of these criminals know in advance from the inside why somebody got brought in there, and then they end up dealing with it. Now, I may be getting a little graphic on this one, but you'll know why I'm making this point. When Jeffrey Dahmer was finally hauled in Milwaukee as the serial killer, and he finally brought him into prison, let me tell you, they knew exactly what happened in his lifespan when the general population was pretty short-lived, and one of the inside guys in there told some of the families, all taken care of. So they know what your rap sheet is. Now, I know it's a little graphic from what your topic is. I get it, but I just want to let people know that the prison system, you may not have the death penalty in all 50 states, and you only may have it in a few, but the death penalty is in all 50 states, but it's within the walls of the prison system is what it is. Exactly. So for these 5 gentlemen, officers, that won't see a whole lot of freedom left, and they need what do they call it? One of those attorneys inside. I don't know, public defender. Is that what they call them? Mm-hmm. Public defenders ain't going to mean nothing to them. Those guys are going to get the book thrown at them, and they're going to get killed in time once these people find out. So, all I can say is rest in peace, Tyree Nichols. I'm still mind boggled by the whole darn thing that 5 African Americans beat up on an African American. That's just
well, and that's the thing that stood out to me the most out of what you said is how could 5 black cops beat to death a black individual, knowing historically what cops have done to young black males? Why would you subject them to that? You know, we're swinging back over to Jacob. I know you got some more commentary on this.
I want to ask you a question, Jay. I want to ask you this is an education thing because I'm going to have something to go with at the very end of this. Okay, I got something to say on this. But when they say that when there is debates on Twitter, Facebook, whatever, where the police chief is black, the mayor's black, the 5 black cops, everything is part of the thing, and 65% of the area of Memphis, Tennessee is black. And I said, I'm not going to scoff. I'm just asking for this. What do they mean by with the black people and the whole thing, the basis of white supremacy? I'm just asking this to you.
You said what? I'm sorry, you kind of came in and out. You said
people that are trying to say that this was a basis of white supremacy with the police chief being black, 65% of Memphis being black, the 5 black cops, all that stuff. What did they mean by it? I'm just asking. I'm not just scoffing it. I'm asking. What did they mean by the basis of something like that? What do people when they're saying? I'm just asking.
You said they were saying it was the beginning of white supremacy?
Of white supremacy.
Okay, then. I'm sorry, your signal was cutting in and out.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you now. It's that
the white supremacy, all of this with the thing, and even the 5 black cops, the black police chief, and all that. I mean, what are they meaning by that? I just wanted to ask you. Maybe you feel to clean up a little.
Okay, not the you might need to scoot up because like you say the word and it's like coming in and out. I thought you were saying the beginning of it.
The basis of
the basis.
It's the basis. Huh?
The basis of white supremacy.
Yeah, they said it's the basis of white supremacy, even though it's all the the black cops, black the community, all 65% of the community, everything like that. There are people on Twitter or on social media that'll say it's white supremacy. I just wanted to ask. I wanted to ask an African American individual what if you knew what they mean by that, or why they bring it like that, or are they just trying to?
I think they're just trying to troll. I really don't see how you can tie. The only thing that I can tie to white supremacy to this is the act itself, because of historically what it had going on. But I don't know because like Memphis, and I gotta look up the demographics here. I believe that's a majority black city. 65%. Yep, it's a majority black city. Okay, I don't see how that could be white supremacy at all, really. I mean, black police chief, black mayor. I mean, the population is black, unless they're just, sometimes you get some people who are so used to like everything being majority white that they go somewhere or they live somewhere and it's like the opposite. And like for example, if you were to go to El Paso, right? El Paso's like 95% Hispanic, That's it's kind of like saying it's like, but here's the thing: you live there, or some don't, and I get it. But those who do live there, this has been known for years that it's a majority black city. You can't. It doesn't make sense to tie it to white supremacy. The only thing that I could see being tied to white supremacy was the act itself, because that's historically had happened to us by racist white cops, by Rodney Kings, by the Mark Furmans and everything. If you ever listen to the Furman tapes during the OJ trial, he used to be one of those kind of cops as well. Outside of that, I hadn't seen it on Twitter. I'll be honest, I have to go and take a look at it. But to answer your question just straight up, I don't see a tie to it one bit outside of the act itself.
Well, this is my thing that I wanted to bring up. This is the final thing I wanted to say. And it's like, and deal. My favorite Different World episode, okay? Mm-hmm. It's remember when Ron and Dwayne went to jail for the fight over the football field.
Uh-huh.
It's my favorite episode because it is the most even debate over the racial relations that you will ever see in your life with a cop that was a mediator. And you do not know if he was with MLK or not. And you say you don't know. That's the whole point. And the thing is, it's like nothing got solved, nothing got everything. It was just one time. We need a lot more of that. Hard hitting. Not one episode. I'm not even talking about episodes or anything. I'm just using it as an example. We need a lot more of those conversations.
Yes.
To answer what can we do, those conversations.
Yes. And
get those hard conversations where nobody has to go for winning, because it's gonna be like 12 Angry Men. Remember the movie, Scott? 12 Angry Men?
Oh yeah.
It's gonna 12 angry
It
men.
sounds like you got 3 of them here.
Yeah, but yeah, 12 angry men. It's like people started getting their mind little by little, and it's not going to happen in one movie. It's going to happen over years. Right. But little by little by little by little, it's going to chip away. But you got to have real hard conversations with everybody, with all that kind of stuff like that. And I'm like, not conversations where everybody's just got to win, because both sides will have a point.
Yeah, absolutely.
In some way, when there's 100 different ways, they'll have a point. But they will have that. But we got to have these hard conversations. We got to have not legislation, not anything like that. You got to get all this stuff, not force, not shame, not anything. Hard conversation.
Yes. You mentioned
when it's happening, maybe 20, 30 years down the line. It's going to take this long, but we can start chipping away.
You know, you mentioned television, the Different World episode. We had a phone conversation the other day, and I brought up the Family Matters episode, the Fresh Prince episode, that both had to do with being stopped because they were black and whatnot. And I think that is something that needs to return to television. I think people got so caught up in the reality show era that there's not enough. Scott, I know you remember. You remember back with sitcoms, even with comedy sitcoms, Family Matters, Different World, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, anything like that. Whether you watched the shows or not, but even because you got the black sitcoms, the Cosby shows, and everything. Then you have the white sitcoms and everything.
You want to give me a favorite black sitcom? I'll tell you what mine is. You ready? Mm-hmm. Sanford and Son, my friend.
Yes,
Sanford and Son all day long, my friend.
Yes, absolutely.
Good. I love the words "big dummy" and all that business and all that. And
it was
time when I was in Vegas, I actually drove by Red Fox's old house in Vegas until they fixed it up. Never mind, but there was some pretty good sitcom back. TV was good when I was growing up, man.
It was good, you know. It was great, and I'm sure you remember whenever, and this is whether it was with a black sitcom or a white sitcom, they tackled the same themes. They always had these tough episodes that tackled issues like racism, police brutality, teen pregnancy, things like that, you know. And it's like you don't see it anymore. Everything's a reality show. It's the same thing.
Well, you remember Rock.
The NBA. The NBA's a reality show. So what? That's drama. That to me is like as the world turns, but as the NBA turns. Just kidding with you.
No, you remember with Charles Dutton? Let's see.
Rock.
Let's see, Rock on Fox, and it's like remember he was just a trash man that went after a drug lord and end up having respect with the drug lord at the end of the series, and they went after each other. Yeah. And it's like, but you know the biggest thing is all of this. See, Rock brought up a whole thing about we're not going to win. He wasn't winning against the drug dealer. Drug dealer wasn't winning against him. There's no winning with these topics. White versus black, I think there's not a winning, because the more you try winning, the more you're going to cause even more hate and even more everything. You're going to cause the black coaches not to get jobs. You're going to cause all that stuff, because when you do the shaming that the media does, we just got to start accepting, okay, we'll do it on the television. Even it has to start with television. Start with conversation.
Right.
Talk. Get it out there. You brought up to me that you were happy that I bring these up, Jay. You said you were happy that I start these conversations because I want conversation.
Mm-hmm.
I want it real. I want it real because I want to go. I want to be able to leave this earth once in my time where we can finally chip away at this.
Okay, so let me ask you a question, Jacob. Can I ask you a question, pal?
Sure.
Okay, you want conversation, okay? You ever heard of the fact that actions speak louder than words? Ever heard of that?
Yeah, but it's like the problem with it is the actions are from the media who are trying to shame.
Well, I mean, listen,
one side.
Yes and no, okay? And hear me out on this one, okay? You're right that the media certainly is a trigger point for a lot of all this stuff. I give you that much. But we could have all the conversations we want, but none of this stuff's going to get squared away because it's all blown out of proportion on social media, the local news, or wherever you're getting your news. It ain't going to matter. These incidents are going to keep happening until certain things take place that'll prevent them from not happening. That's
well,
I'm telling you.
That is true. But one of the things about it is the fact that, like, we had Fresh Prince, we had Rock, we had A Different World, we had those things to be able to talk. And you know something? Absolutely nothing got solved. When they were doing it, they weren't trying to solve anything.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So the only humiliation I ever saw out of two times I saw humiliation on television of white cops or white people, and it was when they did the wrong thing. Legitimately, it was on Fresh Prince and it was on Family Matters,
Right.
and they did the thing. They got humiliated because they deserved it, but it wasn't humiliating their skin. It wasn't humiliating themselves. It was humiliating that they're assholes. Sorry, Eric, but that they are brutal and they're racist and that's what deserves the humiliation.
Yes.
Well, I'll say this much, okay?
But making it a deal, and we just got to start talking. And you want to know what the action is, Scott?
What?
You start with a very soft action. Just start. It's a soft one, but it's a true. How many times you or anybody else will either get from a white person just like extra nice, or they'll avoid you at all?
Oh, get that right there.
Like,
well, you know what?
Racist, he's my black friend. How many times will you get that? How about treat black people? If you're a white person, treat black people like human beings. Start there.
Right.
Start right there. Then we'll go on to the next conversation. We'll go to the next action. But just start there. No idea. I've had African American and African folks tell me they can't believe I know where Gambia is. That I know that their language is from the thing. And it's like, because there are people that still tell Africans that the African speak African.
Hey, Jacob, say what you want, partner, but there's perception and there's reality. If you want a clean cop show, go back to Starsky and Hutch. If that ain't good enough, why don't you bring back one Adam 12? They weren't bad, okay?
No. And see, I'll get that. You're right. And sorry if you don't see anything on that. I got a charger.
But no, hey, listen, Jacob, you're on point with the whole stuff. I realize that. It's just, but there's perception and there's reality. Well, let's face it, reality. We all know this has to change. Why do you think you keep talking about it on all these different shows, right? Because nothing has gotten fixed. That's the thing. I mean, your points are well taken, but remember, there's perception and there's reality. The perception is what you call the conversation, and the reality is what's getting done. That.
Yeah, and I think in this one, this is one of those situations where two things can be true. Scott, you're absolutely correct. Things get changed with action.
Right.
But on the other hand, to Jacob's point, it begins with conversation. And one of the biggest problems nowadays is people avoid it. How many times have you heard somebody say, whenever they bring up a topic on racism, oh, man, just don't talk about it. I just wish you all would just stop talking about it. Now, when in the history of anything has a problem got solved by just not talking about it? I'm talking about drug abuse, domestic violence, you name any ill in the world. When has it ever been solved? Eradicated just by not talking about it.
Oh, no, I'm not debating that. Listen, okay, I majored in communication from the University of South Florida in 1986. I'm not going to say ignore it, not talk about it. I hope you don't think that's what I'm saying, because I don't.
No, not at all.
No, I just want to make sure we set the record straight here. You got to have conversation, okay? But where is the conversation going to leave until something gets done? That's all I'm saying.
Oh, no. And that's all I was bringing up with what I was saying. It's like hearing African people say that they can't believe I know what Gambia is, and I know about that. And I can talk to people from Senegal and tell them I know they can speak French.
I mean, I'm still miffed at this whole thing that we have here about Tyree Nichols and police brutality, because when you put a ribbon on this whole subject, you're still down to one simple darn thing, okay? 5 African-American cops killed an African-American kid. No matter how you slice a stupid pie, that's the story. And now these guys are going to prison, and this kid's not coming back. And now once again, our country is in an uproar over something that should never have happened.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's all.
All right. Well, hey, we are at the end of the telecast because we do have to get Scott on over to the Sports Exchange. So I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in and leaving the likes and reacts. Shout out to Jennifer Lewis. Shout out to Sarif. Shout out to Kerry Johnson. Thanks a lot for the reacts and everything. Up next is going to be the Sports Exchange, hosted by Scott Morganroth. Of course, Jacob Christner is going to be there. I don't know who else is. Go ahead.
Can I end the show?
Go ahead.
We brought this up tonight, folks. This is not sports. This is real life. We brought this thing up, and it's like one of the things. I brought this up to make a point on something. We are 3 different parts of the world, you
Right.
know, and everything like that. I mean, when I brought up some.
Oh, I think he froze.
He's freezing at crunch time.
I know, right? Ow, he froze.
Oh, hey, he never looked so good with his mouth open.
Right.
I have to deal with him on the other end of the break. Just get with you, Jacob. Love you, brother.
Yeah. Until he comes back. Scott, and you know what? I got it on the bottom of the screen, and I'm pretty sure you're going to say so, but let everybody know where they can find you.
You know what? Just subscribe to the South Florida Tribune YouTube channel. You're going to get it all. South Florida Tribune YouTube channel. We got 1 million shows on there as well anyway. So if you don't like one, there's plenty of other ones you can watch. And one of the things I'm looking to do, Denzel, is I'm trying as hard as I can. Now I have a lot of sports shows, but a lot of non-sports content as well. And I'm building a crew that'll be able to satisfy different genres. And that's what I love about this show. This is just an awesome show, man. You guys, I'm just grateful to be a part of this thing. This really, if I'm ever going to have a show that leads into another one, this is the one that leads into the later one. I'm good with that. This makes Giant Mountain Dew look like water.
Yeah, it's the prelude, you know. But absolutely. And up next, everyone, is the Sports Exchange. And then right after that, come on back on over to Sideline Sports, where we will have, they will have Eric, John, Ray J. Lynn, Megan Price, Big Mike Cartenuto, Tyree. Shout out to them. The Sports Arena will be tonight at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I think Jacob may have ran out of power there.
No, he's waiting for me. I'll see if he ever gets on ours. If not, we'll let him in anyways.
All right, then. Well, I got to end the show here in about 5 seconds anyway. So for Jacob Christner, who had power issues, and Scott Morganroth, I am Denzel Snipes. And thank you for tuning in to the Pundits Pundit. We will see you in 7 days. Now, quick, get on over to the South Florida Tribune on YouTube for the Sports Exchange. Later.